management in 2017 and mental health first aid practitioner in 2018. She has held various job positions, budding as assistant lecturer at her own parent institution in Ramakrishna College of Nursing after a completion of BSN. Then she was assistant professor at Department of Psychiatric Nursing in PSG College of Nursing, and from 98 to 2001, where we could see the active participation, and we really feel proud to have you with us today, Mrs. Lomi, and who is a registered mental health nurse at Coventry and worked with Partnership Trust in 2002. And she has been played various roles in the service side as a deputy nurse manager, clinical nurse specialist, and now as a nurse manager. Again, now she has blossomed as a service-led in urgent care mental health crisis resolution and treatment as at present. So I welcome you, Ms. Lomi. Next, we have another leader who is going to deal on nurse leaders who create the magnetism is Dr. Lakshmi, who is a faculty, Oman College of Health Sciences, Ministry of Health, Muscat, Oman, who is an energetic personality, always I admire, with 28 years of professional experience in teaching, who began her career as an intern, then became the tutor and professor. Now she is in the cadre of nursing science teacher today. Her interest in teaching research demonstrates that she is one of the best nurse leaders in globally. To appreciate, she is a coordinator for integrated management of childhood illness with Ministry of Health, Oman. She has done her graduation and post-graduation at College of Nursing Ramakrishna, Coimbatore, and PhD in Education at HIE University in Malaysia. Diploma in Early Childhood and Education, postgraduate diploma in Rural Development, Child Abuse and Maltreatment and Neglect. She has undergone many short-term training courses both in nursing and research. Awards and merits speaks her leadership skills. International Best Researcher Innovation Award in 2020. Best Researcher Award for Cancer Breast Awareness Study from Research Division, Ministry of Health in 2019. University First Rank in MS Nursing at Tamil Nadu Dr. MJ Medical University. Best Nurse Researcher Award in MS Nursing. Best Performance in NSS and Community Activities from National, State and Local. And Best NSS Activity Award from Mayor of Coimbatore. She is a chairperson of the Research Committee, Task Force for the Violence and Injury Prevention Course, Internal Examination Reviewer for Nursing Research, and editorial member for the journals like Nursing Trends, International Advisory Board for IDO and International Journal for Nursing Excellence, and International Egyptian Journal for Nursing Science and Research. And she has coordinated many courses for nursing in Oman Nursing Institute, Oman and India, resource person in international and national conferences, organized many workshops and seminars, and involved in research projects, and publications are many, and international newsletters. So I welcome you, Dr. Lakshmi. And Dr. Lakshmi is our senior, the first batch in Ramakrishna College of Nursing. And I'm the third batch. We have a fifth batch, Ms. Lomi. So here, a small Ramakrishna family is here with us. And next, I welcome the nurse entrepreneur, a dynamic person, Dr. T.R. Uday Kumar, who is with a 22 years experience, having high cognitive and analytical skill in nursing. So implemented the concept to enhance the knowledge and skills of nursing professionals to deliver quality assured services. He has been a pioneer in designing and implementing a mobile training program for nurses working in public health facilities in 8 districts of Bihar for improving the maternal and child health indicators. And he has done a competency-based training program and clinical mentoring process for nurses in 14 districts of Bihar. This model has redefined the training method in Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. He's been member expert committee in Skill Lab Operational Guidelines, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, National Health Systems Resource Center, Government of India, and Path International for developing guidelines in implementing training programs for ASHAs. He is a member expert committee in Certified Simulation Educator and Administrator, Winter Institute for Simulation and Education Research, Pittsburgh, USA, Advisory Board of Tamil Nadu Nurses and Midwives Council for analyzing the National Nursing and Midwifery Commission draft bill in 2020, and Consultation Committee for drafting the Comprehensive Public Health Bill for Government of India, National Health Policy 2015, Bylaw Committee for Amendment of Section 12(1)(b) of Tamil Nadu Nurses Midwives Council Act, Chennai, Research Advisory Board of Tamil Nadu Nurses and Midwives Council for the research grant. And he has designed and developed assimilation-based and competency modules to integrate into nursing curriculum. He has created the e-learning platform exclusively for nurses and nursing students, instructional materials for 38 courses in health and allied health science for Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. So it's a great privilege, and he has been graduated from SRM and post-graduation from Savita University and done his doctoral in nephrology nursing. I really welcome you, Dr. Uday Kumar. Every one of us have the instinct and a capacity for leadership and entrepreneurship, but most of us don't have the courage or will to cultivate it. I'm sure at the end of this webinar, every one of us will have courage, we are motivated, and we'll be able to cultivate the leadership and entrepreneurship skills among us. And maybe within a year, we can see many nurse entrepreneurs coming also. So let's unite together and enjoy listening to today's session by our eminent speakers. So I open the session to the eminent speakers. Meera, please. Thank you. Have a great day with us. Meera, you need to unmute.
Ma'am, good afternoon to all the eminent speakers of today. We welcome the speakers and the participants of today's international webinar. We have got a great clinical nurse leader, slowly follows, service-led crisis resolution and home treatment. Ma'am, we welcome you to share on the topic, nurses cultivate compassion and combat burnout. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Meera, and thank you, Dr. Jayasudha. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, great. I'm so pleased to see my senior leaders, Dr. Lakshmi Ranganathan, Dr. Jayasudha, and Dr. Uday Kumar. And it's a great privilege and honor to be in the midst of you today. You know, highly qualified, highly efficient leaders and pioneers in nursing. And I'm so humbled to be in your presence to present this topic, cultivate compassion and combat burnout. I believe personally, this is a real need at the present time, especially when we are undergoing quite a lot of stresses around and we forget to show compassion to our own self. Because when you look at the compassion around the world, you forget about yourself and we give less importance to our own self, less compassionate to our own self. I don't dismiss the fact that stressors are growing, you know, and not only because of COVID, but because of the changes in the society and living in the modern world. The factors around are so immense. And this topic is the hour of the time. I'm sure when we think about those days when you decided to join nursing, being a caring profession, it need not be a choice at the time. It's just by chance for some of us. Personally, for me, it was a chance. I never thought that I would succeed in nursing because for me, it was a choice. It wasn't a choice. But later, when I started to realize the impact that each one of us can make in somebody's life, it could be just a gentle smile, or it could be just a gentle pat. And if the more you see the impact, the more you become passionate in nursing. And then you realize nursing was my pure choice. So for some people who don't feel that energy inside, don't feel disappointed because it will come. And so therefore, it need not be your choice at the start, but it will follow. So what is compassion? Compassion it's the feeling that arises when you are confronted with another's suffering. And not only that feeling, we can't leave it there. It's the feel which motivates you to relieve that person's suffering. So not by having that feeling doesn't mean that we are compassionate. We have to do something about it. You see an orphan, or you see a patient, a burns patient suffering with pain, or a mentally distressed patient suffering, you have
Okay,
to,
ma'am. Excuse me. Full
yes,
screen மட்டும் போட்டுருங்க PowerPoint.
sorry.
Can you make it to the full screen, ma'am?
Okay, sorry, yes. Any better?
Next, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Any better?
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Bhaskar.
Thank you.
So it's just not that feeling. You feel motivated to do something about it until you see some satisfaction on the patient's face. So compassion is how care is given through a relationship based on empathy, respect, and dignity. And when you think about the values in caring profession, there are 6 values which are very important for caring profession. And it could be anyone. It could be a doctor, nurse, social worker, or a farmer, anyone who are in this caring industry. You got to have the skills, you got to have the value of care, and you got to have the value of compassion. Definitely, you should have the value of competence, because it's only when you have the competence in nursing, you should have the ideal competency. If you are a mental health nurse, you should have the competence of good communication, very good interpersonal relationship, empathy, sympathy, compassion. All these comes under that. And communication, no matter in whatever specialty you work, you should have an excellent communication. Many a times we fail not because of lack of communication, it's just because we miss to communicate. You assume that it is being told, you miss to convey what it is like, or sometimes simple tips, or maybe psychoeducation, or maybe educating about the side effects of the medication. So that will reassure. So communication is such an important value in nursing. And when we talk about all these compassion, sometimes we miss to say that nurses need to be courageous. They need to be courageous. And when I say courageous, please don't misinterpret the wrong sense. It's the courage to stand for your patient, to stand up for the right of the patient, and you don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to fight for your patient. You can be assertive. You can convey the real feelings about how the patient feels about it and what can be done about it. Commitment, and pure commitment is a prime value in caring profession. You got to be committed. We cannot be robotics. You cannot come there without any commitment into this professions. So the values in a caring profession is such an important thing. So compassion is how we care, how the care is given through relationship, and that's based on empathy, respect, and dignity. Certainly, we need to have respect for the patient, no matter how busy you are, and sometimes it's just your poor eye contact itself says that you don't have a good respect on that patient. Just looking at the time. And also dignity. And don't forget, sometimes these are very simple things, but it is such an important thing, no matter whether they are a child, it's age independent, or an older person, even they are, of the extreme age, we got to show that dignity, in how we speak and how we interact, how we convey the emotional messages. And I know sometimes it's very hard when we carry our own emotional baggages, we all have a personal life as well. So when we carry our emotional burden, it will reflect on our face. And when it reflects on our face, it will have that impact on your patient. Imagine that patient, whoever is coming to you, maybe he hasn't seen any joy in his life for the past many months, maybe due to the suffering at home, or maybe nagging at home, or maybe financial pressure, or maybe a homeless situation, or maybe any sort of factor. And for him, it must be that great opportunity that he's looking forward to receive from each one of us. And then we go with our baggages and we forget about giving even a simple smile to that patient. And when I say smile, sometimes I say, just show your smiling face. It doesn't mean that, you genuinely mean it. You mean when you say that, I am caring for you, I'm interested, I'm listening. Go on, I'm going to give a hand to you. So your verbal and your non-verbal communication is so important, and that's going to give an impact. And I'm not trying to say, like, when you have some just don't act to be smiling. Let it come genuinely from inside. And that sort of reflection. And that's why I say sometimes when when we are carrying that burden, it's so hard to communicate. So be aware of that feeling that, the impact that you're going to create to each person that you're going to meet is going to have a sort of greater impact on that person's life. Compassionate care is witnessing another person suffering and experiencing a subsequent desire to help. So it's like it's just not seeing, but obviously you have a sort of motivation to do something. And that's why it is so important, because you have that feeling sometimes, the patient is suffering, or that he's emotionally upset, or that a person is in distress, but you don't have that motivation to do, oh, I've seen that, it's okay, he can bear with it. And that shouldn't be that attitude. You should have some emotional drive inside. And that's why I wanted to stress here to say, when we are not motivated, when we are not compassionate, and we don't have the value of compassion, how can we expect nurses to show the compassion to others? And how will you have that motivation to able to make a nice cup of tea and give it to that patient who was crying or who was in distress? We don't look into our positions sometimes. You may be a leader, you may be a head of the service, principal, team leader, head nurse, no matter what. We just don't look into that. That's the intrinsic motivation that comes to go and do something about it without watching that happen. You do something about it. And that's why I don't want to say that, I don't want to force any more intrinsic motivation in you, because obviously it is something very natural and it should come to you. Right. So true compassion means not only feeling another's pain, but also being moved to help. So we need to reflect every day. I will give a tip. Every day, it is essential that as nurses, as caring professionals, we are to reflect on that day to see, how was my day? Was there anything I could have done a little bit more better? Was there anything for me to learn? Was there anything that I could have gently, I could have thought outside the box? So the best professionals are the best reflective practitioners. So we should be able to reflect, and we should bring changes in ourselves. So it's not only feeling another's pain, but also being moved to help to relieve it. Now, let us see how we can, what are the three aspects in compassion? And I'm sure you now understand what is that compassion, what is that emotion, And how does it come from inside of your heart? Although you have at mind level, sometimes it has to come from heart level. And that is the motivation to do that. And that's the physical energy to do that. And it is so important when staff in the service industry or in education in that industry, or no matter in your personal life, when there is some changes in your motivation, it will affect the way you convey that emotional energy to others. I'm just trying to stress this on because we got to be aware of ourselves. We can't lead a life that you yourself are not answerable to your own feelings. And when it goes worse, somebody else will pick it up. And by the time they pick it up, it will be too late. So always have that testing. Let yourself be a barometer. Let ourselves be a barometer to check how my emotions are running, how far is it running, and how can I change? What impact did I make? So the three aspects of communication is cognitive, affective, and intrinsic drive. When you think about cognitive, it's, as you know, it's your belief, it's your knowledge, it's your perception, it's the upper skill where you are able to think, you're able to reason, you're able to judge, memory. All these things are the cognitive side of a person. So why is it important? Because if I could not have a clear thinking, sometimes in life we miss that. We have problems in our life and your cognition can distort. You might have had some past incident with some person in your life, and then you sometimes generalize the feelings with others, and then you see them as the same person in your life, and then you always say that you think that, oh, he must be an abuser, or he must be very cruel, or you have a prejudged ideas. And sometimes it's so important. You got to just go with your clear mindset. And I mean, if you ask that whether if anyone has got a clear cognition, no. Sometimes you might have had a bad day. You must have you would have driven, and obviously you had some interaction with somebody which upset you, or maybe your child not happy about something, and then it upset you, or you had an argument, it upset you. So we go with our emotion baggages, and then please make sure that that baggages should not affect our relationship that we are placed in. We are doing a very important job. We are placed to do a job which is going to bring a big impact, and sometimes it's not the medication, or sometimes it need not be. I'm not against medication. Sometimes it need not be a therapy. Sometimes it could be the gentle thing, that look at the patient, or it could be that facial expression that you say. When somebody is so unclean to see, you make sure you don't you don't see that, you see the person inside. So you need to have that clear cognition, and you need to have that openness, and not hiding something inside and then showing something else. So we got to be very open. Maybe the history says that he is a very problematic person. Maybe the history says that he's very challenging, but we go with a fresh mindset, no matter what others say. Of course, histories are important, but then for you to care, that should not be an interference. The second aspect of compassion is affective. I'm sure affect is the emotion. It's the feeling, you feel with a person, you feel it. And sometimes, when you frown your eyebrows, that shows something, isn't it? Oh, how weird that is. How can he say that? But your facial expressions, your gentle gestures will make the change. Intrinsic drive, I don't need to say enough on this. So it is so important that we got to look after ourselves. If I don't look after my mind, if I don't look after my physique, how can I expect that I have that motivation to do? So no matter, and that's why managers, every leaders who work in caring industry, we got to not only look after ourselves, we got to be compassionate to our staff who work with us. Sometimes you see a dull face, a staff who sits with a dull face, we don't say like, oh, she's always like that. Oh, she is a bit moody, she's grumpy. There's always a reason behind that person's behavior. But an efficient and effective leader is the one who understands the person, and then goes beyond to understand. I know she's different, but there's always a reason. I'm different because there's always a reason. I have a history, and the same way others have a history as well for that person to behave that way. So that's compassionate leadership bring great success in your profession, in your business, no matter what, because you are touching their productivity, you are improving the productivity. So I understand all about the leadership styles, the autocratic, and all those modes of leadership. But what we've missed these days is the emotional intelligence to understand, to speak, to understand, and then to spend some time with them, to influence and give a strong shoulder for them. Now, cultivating compassion. Yesterday, while having dinner, I was asking my children. I have a 17, 13, and 9-year-old, 3 children. So I asked my children on the dining table, can we train compassion? Can we teach somebody to be compassionate? I just wanted to see what they have got in their emotion. And my 13-year-old said, boys, they just talk briefly. They don't bring stories. My 13-year-old boy said, it's like you either have it or not. That's what he said, and that really turned some thoughts in me. That's true. It's like you either have it or not. That's right. And in his opinion, you can't train somebody to be compassionate. That's what he was trying to say. You either have it or you don't have it. But I tell you, greater compassion comes for somebody who has experienced a similar situation. Say, imagine if you're watching an emotional movie, you get into that scene, isn't it? And you can relate yourself to that victim who is suffering, and that's when you churn your emotion, and that's when you get that drive, and that's when you think, of course, when you watch movie, you can't do anything about it, but at least you get that feelings because you had that similar experience, or you had the similar experience of loss in your life, or you had the similar experience of going through a sickness where doctors said there's no hope, you had the similar experience of abandonment or resentment, so the one who have experienced will place themselves in a better position. So if anyone who are hearing today, if you are overwhelmed, if you are overburdened with emotions, that you will be in a better position to be a compassionate carer, to be a compassionate nurse. So I believe we can still cultivate compassion, no matter when they say you either have it or not. How do we have it is through experience, if you wouldn't get this compassion straight away. Of course, you have some children, they are highly emotionally intelligent, they're highly compassionate, they have that heart to go give something to the poor people. They have the heart to help somebody. But of course, some people, they are born like that, but some people, they're not. It's not their mistake. It's because they haven't come across, So when they come across, they get it. And that's why it is so important to listen to testimonies, to listen to what other people have gone in their life, and therefore we build, and sometimes it's important. This generation, I know we don't spoil our children. I know my generation, we have to go through all those hardships in our life, and those hardships made us stronger. But these days, it's not our children's fault. It's just because they haven't got opportunities. So, but as parents, we can take them to those opportunities, take them to those places where we can bring that compassion in them. It may be an orphanage, it may be an elderly home, it may be a place where they start to have their emotions. So building a relationship, imagine if somebody who's going to come to you, who are going to entrust in your hands to be cared, and then you just see them as numbers, just imagine, and imagine somebody that maybe you're going with a labor pain, or maybe you're going there because of months of sleeplessness, or maybe you're just going for a temperature, maybe that's your first admission in a hospital, the feelings of anxiety. And on top of that, if you are so busy and you count them as numbers, just imagine that feeling that you have. Or on the other side, you just receive them and you explain to them what your role is, how long you'll be looking after, where your things are, you orient them, you explain, you keep building their relationship. How is that going to make that difference? Just imagine. And you accept the patient as a person. You have to see, I know sometimes, we will be told, like, this is what this patient is, this is what the history is, but obviously you see a person beneath that. I remember like a story where a child was so unsettled and he was a bully in the classroom, and then his behavior was not tolerated by the teachers. His behavior was not tolerated by the teachers. And I think many a times he goes to the principal's desk because of his behavior. And going to principal's desk means his behavior, his conduct is not good, But this child got that attention and that compassion only from the head teacher. So therefore, he did everything possible so that he could get that attention from the principal, because he comes from a very different background, very dynamic, dynamics within their family. He hasn't got proper mom and dad, and he hasn't got an emotion healthy environment. So when you dig deeper into the child's life, this is his history, this is his background. So therefore, he is craving for somebody who will understand him. He is craving for somebody to show that compassion. And you know what? None of them could understand him. And that's why he was going to the principal's desk, and there he found solace and there he found comfort. So sometimes it's so important to see the person behind that patient. The other thing is emotional resonance, feeling for that patient, and understanding the pressures of the patient, and that requires compassion. When we talk about, I know I asked Meera about the type of participants who are attending, and I know that there are mixed varieties. I just thought to share something for everyone, So we talked about for nurses why it is important and how they can build, how they can bring changes. Now, compassionate leaders, and they are not excused as well. Any leaders, if anyone is in a leadership position, maybe you're the head of the department, understand there is an element for us as well. I'm a leader as well. We have to be compassionate. And I'm not trying to say like, you wouldn't have time to be compassionate to all your staff, you see. But what I mean is, your presence, when you go to the ward, when you go to your children's classroom, when you go to your faculty staff room, you carry the compassion, and great leaders motivates and bring influence in others, And when I say motivate, you have to have the genuine interest, not only thinking that I should grow, others should not, and if they have some skill, they must be having some simple skill. Maybe she's very good at making a nice dish, motivate that, and she may be a sweeper who has nothing to do with her profession. But you see, when she does her work, she does so well with a nice aroma when she does the cleaning, So inspire them, motivate them, influence them, not by words, not only by words, but by your smile, your gesture, you mean it, the gentle pat, morally strong. Now, we got to be in a better position as leaders for us to be a role model, So we got to have good moral values. And when I say good moral values, I don't need to explain more on that, because your staff, your subordinates are looking at you, There is something that they should learn from us. There is something that they should learn because, in our discussion yesterday, although my son said it's either you have it or not, my other son said sometimes you just do it and others learn from you. And I thought that's useful as well. You practice it, and rather than going behind them and knocking at them and, telling them right in front of their face, you just do it. I learn from you, and therefore being an excellent, great role model with good moral values is so important, especially in caring industry. So it takes responsibility to build, and sometimes everyone are different. I mean, if you look at your staffs, everyone are different. It's like your 5 fingers, even your children, all your 3 or 4 children need not be same. We all are different. So therefore, we see the differences, strengthen them, and take responsibility rather than saying that particular member of staff, oh, he's always like that. Oh, she wouldn't listen. Oh, she wouldn't understand. Oh, she doesn't have that quality. Oh, she completely dismisses, rather than blaming them, a good leader takes responsibility. What did you do about it? What did you do about it rather than saying that you have, blaming others? Criticism is always in private. If you want to encourage somebody, motivate somebody, if you wanted to appreciate somebody, that's always in public. That's the tip. Right. So far we were going through all about compassion, and I believe, and I really wanted to turn compassion. But I tell you what, sometimes you really wanted to do that, but for some reason you can't be as effective as how you used to be. Can I ask Bhaskar or Meera, how many minutes left? Because I know we delayed at the start.
15 minutes now.
15 minutes. Great. Thank you. Right, crack on. Let's move into burnout now. So this is extreme opposite we're talking about, So compassion is you come with that feeling, you're so motivated to help somebody, but this is burnout, Let's see, what is burnout. Now, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. When we are continuously exposed to this prolonged stress, COVID is a great example. When we are continuously exposed, these emotions can have an impact, and I'm sure as nurses, I bet in Coimbatore as well, COVID brought a sort of stressful environment in the wards, So that sort of continuous exposure. And I'm not talking about something which happened for a period. I'm talking about something which happened for a chronic period, for a long time. And that would have an impact. And the stresses could be your personal life, or it could be your professional stresses, or it could be your digital stresses as well. I should tell that, we are so busy in the digital world with the Facebook, WhatsApp, and the feelings of how many likes have come into our life and all those stresses, So when we take I'm just trying to crack the joke, so therefore let's not take so seriously about it. But of course, burnout is a real problem. And please take this opportunity to reflect when I go through these slides, because sometimes many of us are already burnout without knowing that we are burnout. So what is compassion fatigue then? Compassion fatigue is something in between. It is a condition when feelings get too internalized to the extent they struggle to come out. So you just look at, you care for the patient day in and day out. You look after their emotions. You do their part, and maybe at home, if you have an elderly parent or you have children, you care for them, and then you feel fatigued about it, and you feel it, but you struggle to come out, and that is compassion fatigue. Why does it happen? It's because in care industry of the complexity of the job. Imagine nurses who are working in intensive care unit or palliative care, the complexity of work. We multitask and then we are responsible. You just look at the life and death situation, you face several deaths sometimes, I mean, in mental health, it's not that bad facing death, but sometimes I know with intensive care unit or critical wards, you face deaths and then you think everything is okay. It's not okay because it is affecting our mental health, and gradually when it accumulates, you come to a point where you haven't got any feelings. If anyone are having that thought, you always had the feeling, but now you can't think about having feelings. You've lost, you become desensitized, and now you can think that it is something to do with my compassion fatigue. So it's because not only of the complexity, it's about the uncertainty. The place that I work, it's like the the uncertainty, because I don't know what complex case is going to come tomorrow. It could be a suicide, it could be a homicide, it could be anything. It could be somebody who was okay yesterday suddenly thought to end his life, or somebody who's not happy about the care that we have provided, so it could be anything. And imagine you are going with that feeling because you don't know what's going to be your day. You don't know what sort of patients are going to come to your attention. So that unpredictability, and sometimes it's the lack of control. Sometimes the staff nurses when you go, or maybe a teacher, or maybe a professor, you don't have that control. Somebody is taking your control. So therefore you feel so helpless. And then when days pass, months pass, you can't do anything about it, but you lost that control and somebody is taking that control. And therefore you have that emotion in your mind and you go day by day, you accumulate, and that has an impact, and it could be at home as well. Sometimes you don't have control, on something, and therefore you feel frustrated about it, you feel upset about it, and yet you can't do anything about it. And obviously these sort of emotions can have an impact on you in the long run. And high emotional, because obviously we are facing patients with high emotions. Sometimes they can be very aggressive, they can spit on your face, they can throw TVs or whatever on your face, So we are working in the midst of I'm not trying to sell in the general health, and sometimes this happens in mental health, and that's the same with in the neurology ward. When you're managing a stroke patient, because they don't know what they are doing, they don't know why they are feeling that way, and sometimes these behaviors are expected. You see, and that can have an impact on life. So what happens is you gradually have less energy, you have low motivation, and you have a disinterest, maybe a low mood. So that's how we present. And some people are clever enough, they won't show the exact symptom, and therefore they try to hide. And it's so difficult with those people because they just escape, they just say that they're not well, or they just don't face the situation. So that's even more difficult for a leader to understand that personality. Now, interestingly, according to the latest action of WHO, ICD-11 workplace is considered workplace burnout as one of the components in ICD-11. So it includes feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, or feeling of negativism, or being cynical related to one's job. Sometimes you see, oh, that person has been in the job for a long time, because the way they confront situation, the way they are cynical about things, she's attention seeking, she ignore her, and that's being cynical. Oh, she does that, just it's part of her, So that sort of thinking comes to your mind, because you don't have that feeling for the person. So reduced professional efficacy, and WHO members adopted ICD-11 on the May 25th, and it will go into effect in January 2022. So it is interesting to see they have recognized that this is happening. We've got to do something about it. Now, what are the stages in burnout? Now, stages of burnout. If you think about those days when you first became a nurse, I just wanted you to think about those days. Or maybe you had a good job, your first day, you started as an assistant lecturer, or or a tutor or clinical instructor, or maybe a student, your first phase, that's the honeymoon phase, and then you'll be highly creative, you'll be highly committed, and great ideas go into your mind. You have full satisfaction, and then you readily accept, yes, ma'am, I'll do that. Yes, ma'am, I'll do this. Just remember those days when we made the mitten corners, all these mitten corners with very sharp edges, you see, and that is the zeal you have in your profession because you have that sustained energy, Now, who cares whether the mitten corner or whatever corner, but as long as the bed sheets are, I'm just trying to explain to see the difference, So during your early days, you are so good. You wanted to do everything properly. You can see that, and that's why it's called the honeymoon phase. You just fall in love with that profession, and you just wanted to do everything perfectly. Now, the second phase is like you are aware of the stress, but then you just somehow manage because as such you will be, maybe you're anxious, you're fatigued, you're forgetful, or you have some headache now and then, or maybe you are diagnosed with the blood pressure because of some sort of stress, or you're irritable, you can't sleep properly, and then what you do is like you just missed your social interaction. And I will say these are the people who are workaholic and they forget about themselves, and then your productivity will be affected. So this is the phase where you somehow do, maybe at one day is different from another. You feel a little better, you have energy, but maybe you think about a meeting, you feel that I don't want to go for that meeting, I don't feel okay for that. So it's like hit and miss. The third stage is resist and struggle. So this is a phase where it's like chronic stress. Maybe you had it for years together and you get so irritable, you get angry, you get aggressive. Maybe you show it not to others, but maybe to somebody who will take it, or maybe you have that chronic exhaustion. You got to drink cup of teas, cup of coffees, so to keep your energy level up. And you can see cynical behavior, and because you sometimes underestimate somebody. You come to the faculty and then you might say, you're being cynical. What is wrong with you? Just underestimating or being critical about others, without having the compassion. So feeling pressured, equally you're feeling pressured, and therefore you resist and struggle. And maybe for some people who are not coping very well, they use alcohol or drugs or whatever, and then to fight against the battle, you need that external energy, And these are the people who just delay things, they procrastinate, or they just withdraw themselves, they escape, So if you see staff members of that sort, please don't blame them just because we have this class. Just try to understand, talk to them, find out what's going on, is everything okay? Give them a nice cup of tea. So don't forget, cup of tea, or sit with them, listen to them. So that sort of feeling, so please don't take an approach that I have to do something about it. And it's just sad. Imagine if this is a person who's having this burnout, and then you think, his performance affected because I got to do some performance appraisal and then you try to dismiss that person. No, there is something that we got to understand. There is something that we need to do. And that difference that you make, try if there is any possibility. The final stage is the habitual burnout. And this is when that person feels empty, he's isolated already, he's into drugs and alcohol to keep his life steady, he lost his relationship, he's isolated, there are changes in his behavior, he's starting to neglect his life, and then that becomes a habitual burnout. So these are the 4 stages of burnout. Now, how can we overcome that? As I said before, we got to be compassionate to ourselves. What did we do to yourself? When did you last do something good to yourself? When did you treat yourself? What did you have any distraction? Did you have any diversion? Did you have any sort of hobbies in your life? Did you have any sort of activities? Did you learn anything new in life? Or is it just nursing? Did you learn any music to play? Did you learn to sing a song? Or did you go and play? Or did you go and do something that you didn't know, maybe a swimming or a walk, or meeting people, so taking that time. I know we are compassionate nurses, we give the time for others, but what did you do to yourself, once I went to my GP surgery and I said I wanted to reduce weight because, after having children, sometimes your waistline goes broad, and I happened to go to that GP to say, is there anything that you could do in terms of my physical health, and big concern. And she asked me just one question that made me to reflect a long time. And she asked me, Lomi, what did you do about it? She made me think. And I didn't say anything. And I said, I didn't do anything much about it. But at least she made me think. I'm glad she made me think because I started to do something about it. So that's important. What did you do to yourself? I know you look after your husband, your children, your everything, your patients, you please everyone. But what did you do to yourself? Did you take some time? Did you take some time to listen to a song? Did you take some time to meditate? Did you take some time to reflect? Did you take some time to do something for you? I'm not trying to tell this to bring some argument at home, I'm just trying to say, even the other, everyone needs that compassion, so taking the time. So not judging yourself or allowing others to judge you, not blaming yourself, getting to know and accept yourself. Sometimes there must be hurt feelings, there must be negative emotions inside, but we got to overcome that, we got to forgive ourselves. It's okay. It's okay. It's done. I wouldn't do it again. It's happened. I've learned a lesson. So being positive out of that, and then love yourself, help yourself. If there are any negative emotions inside you, take some time to overcome that. It's okay. Don't suppress it. Go through those emotions and say that, yes, there was days like that. There was a day I have unhappiness with somebody. I have unforgiveness with somebody. I cannot forgive that person. It's okay to have that feeling, but the battle is trying to overcome that by clear cognition, understanding, replacing with good thoughts, and finding rational, right? Or maybe that person didn't have a good life, or maybe, so having good rational to understand, and it should not affect you. It's not your problem. Come out of it, okay? So reduce burnout, I've already covered this. You've got to practice self-care, even if you wanted to do something about you, having a good shower, take some time. You have a carer before you, maybe somebody who's suffering from dementia, or somebody who's on dying bed, just don't miss the point, you got to look after yourself. Have your breakfast before you go and have that energy to talk to somebody, because that somebody is just waiting to hear from you. So you got to be ready physically, emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. So create the positive workplace. When we go to work, I know we got to keep our baggages away, keep the boundaries. And when you go there, everything matters, create that positive one. That one person in that faculty is enough, or that one person in your ward is enough, that one person in your organization is enough. When people come for business meetings, if you have that smile on your face, if you have that positive energy, I'm not trying to, please don't be artificial. You cannot have that right compassion if you really don't reflect, if you really don't meditate, if you really don't look after yourself. So always be natural. Be natural. Don't be artificial. Because sometimes I know people just smile for smiling and say, please don't do that. That's even worse to see somebody who's just smiling when they really don't mean it. They just they just smile, and then we know it is not genuine, and nothing worse than that. So any one person is enough. That one person in your home is enough. If you're a wife, if you're a husband listening to me, that one person in your home, you decide to be positive. You decide to be happy. You make that nice idlis, steaming idlis with nice sambar and chutney. You make somebody's life happy. You can decide to be happy. You can decide to create that positive energy. I know, of course, life stresses are there, but obviously you decide. You decide, I'm going to be happy. And you can't dismiss when somebody is sad, but you have that feeling. But be natural. Employee support program. This is very important. I don't know how it works in India or in Coimbatore. We need to give that support programs. Here we have something like COPE, where staff can go and have that psychological support, and managers, we identify, we say whether they not from work and maybe from personal or affecting their work, then obviously they can get that support. There's a very confidential support services that they can have. So it's always useful to have such support programs. You need to have somebody whom you can trust. Your students can trust. Your students, they are there as students, but of course they may be carrying a heavy burden, because I know working in different institutions in Coimbatore, I have come across students, and it is so painful to hear. And I know a student who worked night shift, and he used to come. Nobody knows this, I'm just trying to say, I'm not telling in this institution, elsewhere. So he works night shift, and then he comes for duty. Nobody knows. I know, and I know the pain of that student, you see, because he hasn't got money, and as teachers, we need to understand them to see if there is any scholarship program being offered to that student. Try, So that sort of thing. Reflective practice. I know supervisions and appraisals are so important. We got to meet the staff very regularly, understand what's happening in their life, how far they're progressing, support them, encourage them, motivate them, influence them, got to have. And that's regular supervision. Joy at work, I've already told about the joy at work, and we can't be having that award movies like environment in our workplace, no matter whether it's in ward or faculty or wherever your business, you see, there should be some joy. The reason why I wanted to go is because there is a joy. There's somebody there who's going to make me happy. There's somebody there who's going to motivate me. There's somebody there, instead of feeling, oh my God, I feel so anxious, she's going to find some fault in me, So that sort of environment will create a negative commotion, a negative energy. Instead, it's okay, there's a problem, but it's not her knowledge. It's because she doesn't know how to operate the system. We can train that, that's okay. As long as she's motivated, that's fine. So having the right words brings joy at work. I mean, joy at work itself is a big session to say, how we can bring joy? One person in your faculty is enough to bring the joy. One person in that clinical environment is enough to bring the joy, So I thought it's very useful to know. Now, before we go into the thank you, do we have 1 or 2 minutes, Bhaskar?
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to play a video because sometimes as head nurses or superintendents or leaders, we sometimes expect the quality. There's no compromise for quality, zero tolerance. All these words are used. I know we are going to listen to entrepreneurs, Uday Kumar and magnetism from Dr. Lakshmi. I'm so eagerly waiting to hear both of your presentations. We talk a lot about, quality, all these components, but then we got to think that this is a person, and our expectation needs to be slightly modified. I'm not trying to say about leniency in leadership. I'm just trying to say we got to accept, understand, and be compassionate, because these are not commodities. These are people who are coming to our life. And that little impact that's going to make in their life is going to have a long-term impact in their life, So it is so important. So I just wanted you to see this video. I know it is slightly funny, but as leaders, it will make you think, what it is like when your demands are higher than your capacity and what happens to your quality. So let's watch this.
Ma'am, please stop your share screen, ma'am.
I will do, yes, thank you.
Carefully. This is the wrapping department. Yes, ma'am. Now, the candy will pass by on this conveyor. Listen carefully. This is the wrapping department. Yes, ma'am. Now, the candy will pass by on this conveyor belt and continue into the next room where the girls will pack it. Now, your job is to take each piece of candy and wrap it in one of these papers and then put it back on the belt. You understand? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Let her roll! Let her roll! Well, wait here. Somebody's asleep at the switch. What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates. Oh, they kicked me out of there fast. Why? I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. The fourth department I've been in. Oh, I didn't do so well either.
All right, girls. Now, this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this, okay? Listen, Ethel, I think we're fighting a losing game. Here she comes.
Fine, you're doing splendidly. Speed it up a little!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just wanted to give a blunt. Since we talk about we talk a lot about compassion, but when we don't look into the other side, it's a good balance. It's a good balance between these two elements in order to create compassion. So thank you very much. I hope I have done within the time. And thank you, Meera, for meeting with me, and thank you, Bhaskar, for meeting and trialing yesterday. Thank you, Santosh from OG department. And a very big thank you to Dr. Jayasudha for pointing this to me to deliver this message to you. So, and I thank you, and see Dr. Lakshmi and Dr. Uday Kumar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Like we have understood your concept of smile for nurses, and you have given a crystal clear view on compassion and self-compassion. Your illustrations made us more aware on the topic. I hope your kindness, caring, sympathy, genuineness, and your acts demonstrate an openness to care for others. Your style of shaping nurses in the healthcare field today is really amazing. Thank you, ma'am, for spending your time and delivering us such a wonderful topic. Next, we have an eminent leader, Dr. Lakshmi Ranganathan, Faculty, Oman College of Health Sciences. Madam will share her views and experiences on nurse leaders, great magnetism. Ma'am, kindly take over, ma'am.
Thank you, Meera. Yes. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all present here in this wonderful webinar, Crossing the Horizons. We really cross the horizons because speakers from various places and also participants. I'm so honored and privileged to be associated with Dr. Jayasudha, who is my junior in the college. And I'm so happy to meet you, Jayasudha, once again in the virtual platform. And then me and Jayasudha, whenever we go in the college, they say we are twin sisters because we share the same features. They always call, are you real sisters or really you belong to, so we used to say that I belong to same hometown. Of course, she's my sister. And I have a personal and professional relationship with Jaisudha for past 3 decades. And my heartfelt thanks to you, Jaisudha, for having invited me for the most exciting webinar. Secondly, I'm happy to meet Lomi after 2 decades, I think, I guess. Lomi was the first, I think, in Ramakrishna. My first class was to Lomi's group, most naughtiest batch. I never forget you, Lomi, Vijayalakshmi, Shanti, many. Still, I have connection with them, and only with you, I lost my touch. I think hopefully I will continue. Very nice meeting you, Lomi, after a long time. And Mr. Uday Kumar, Dr. Uday Kumar, I'm sorry, first time meeting you, pleasure meeting you, sir. I owe a big thanks to Meera, Santana Lakshmi and Bhaskaran sir for having organized this workshop. And then Meera, you are looking like a real Krishna Meera up from Dwaraka. Very, very calm, dedicated, tolerating our touches for more than a week. Thank you, Meera. And then let me proceed to my topic. My topic is creating magnetism in nursing leaders. So now, let me introduce, I will just I'm getting, Mr. Bhaskaran sir, I'm getting a lot of small screens popping out. So I'm unable to see. Please take care of that. Overview, nursing leaders versus manager, essential qualities of nurse leaders and required skills of nurse leaders, major concern of nursing leaders, assertiveness, benefits of creating magnetism and magnetic model, and so on. So the initial part wouldn't be new to anybody, but maybe the magnetism might be little new to people, and then we are going to learn about. Nurse leader versus manager. Nurse leaders and managers aim to provide top quality care in an efficient and a meaningful way. The nurse leaders focus more on hands in terms of focusing on patient care, whereas the nurse manager work behind the scenes on daily operations. Let us look into the little bit detail about the difference between nurse leader and manager. Nurse leaders maintain rigorous standards of care that patients and their families to expect from exemplary healthcare facilities. The nurse leaders also bridge the gap between the policies and practices by ensuring that all members of the team are obeying the protocol. Whereas the nurse manager, managing the human and financial resources, ensuring patient and staff satisfaction, maintaining the safe environment for the staff and patient visitors, and etc. and so on. Ensuring standards and quality care are maintained as per the hospital strategic goals and report to the superior, like matron, superintendent in India, we call it as here. In Oman, we call the chief as chief nursing officer, principal nursing officer. A country like Kenya, we call them as a vice president of nursing, and so on. Let us take a look at what are the essential qualities of the nurse leader. First one is emotional intelligence. I think Lomi was eased my work and she was talking about the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is ability to understand, use, and then the manager as one owns emotions, how to relieve the stress in the positive way. Second one is professional socialization. Here, acquisition of skills, values, attitudes, knowledge, all including the professional subculture, how you are talking about with your friends and colleagues and so on. Critical thinking, of course, all of you know how we are tackling skillfully, the applying, analyzing, synthesizing, evaluating the information through observation and experience, or reflection, through reflection and then reasoning, how we are going to do about in a critical thinking way. Dedication to excellence, all of us know we have to dedicate in an excelling in a great manner for the nursing profession. And then the communication skills, of course, the nurse leader should be a very good communicator in order to lead her team. And respect, of course, she has to respect the subordinates, and then she will get it back, the respect. Integrity, this great quality of being honest and having a strong moral principle is called as integrity. Mentorship is just guided by an experienced person as a leader. She will be the mentor for all her subordinates and then juniors. Professionalism, of course, we all know about with code of ethics and the great criteria of the professionals. We all of us know about the professionalism. Now, what are the required skills of the nurse leader? The required skill of nurse leaders is we have to first of all stand in par with the global standards. Now you see all of, maybe we have graduated from one area, but we are working in all over the world. So we cannot say I am from India, I was just only knowing about this, I do not know about this. We can't say. We have to be in par with the global standard, global standards. So wherever you are from, and then you have to keep in your mindset. And the leaders, nurse leaders nowadays, like when we were like 30 years back, nursing was totally different. But now the nursing is totally different. Even the younger generations are very quick and they can combat with any kind of challenges that they face. Working knowledge of technology, of course, technological issues are really upcoming, and then most of us are even in the equipments in the hospital, even in the education, the technology is part and part, and the nurse leadership must also be updated about it. Prioritizing the quality and then the safety, empathy, accountable, confident, and honesty and reliable, responsible, and gratitude. All this, all of us know, no need to explain in detail. And a nurse leader should have a good interpersonal relationship, and she has to build a good team skill, and she has to have a cooperative and collaborative skills as well, and balancing authenticity and performance expectation. And she should cope effectively with the change. That is, I will come into the change a little bit later. Delegate the responsibilities effectively and expert decision-making skill. So these are all required skills of nurse leader. Now what is happening? So we have told all those qualities, and then this one, do we have it really? That's the question, million-dollar question. So the problem with the major challenges, the major concern, the whole world now for nursing as such, is retaining nurses. Means the nurses keep switching the job. Of course, you may not see much in India, but nowadays I do not know because I lost touch in India for quite a long period of time. But in Western countries, this happens quite often because maybe they are attracted with the salary, or maybe they just swap the hospitals. So retaining the qualified nurses, for example, you bring a nurse and then you give a training in ICU or some dialysis or some way, and then she just suddenly go, and then another junior nurse will come with maybe with a little experience. So it is a big challenge for the leaders in the hospital. As far as the India is concerned, because this retaining nurse, when the research studies I was just going through, 60% of the whole world is facing problem in retaining nurses. That is a major challenge for the nursing leaders. As far as India is concerned, lack of assertiveness in the staff and then the leaders is a major problem. That's what, it's not like with few studies are of course telling, but majority, whenever I come and happen to meet nursing leaders, they say only this lack of assertiveness. So we are going to see a little bit on assertiveness, how to build up and all. Staff shortages is another major problem. Even in spite of many colleges of nursing, in spite of many, graduates coming up all over the world, we have shortage. Now in COVID era, we have so much shortage going on. Budgeting, of course, the fiscal constraint is always a problem for the nurse leader. Lack of morale, confidence, enthusiasm is really missing in leaders. I do not know why. Personal health and burnout. Just now, Ms. Lomi was explaining about what is burnout, and then physical problem like maybe backache, muscular injury, carpal tunnel. So many issues for the nurses these days. Long shifts and time constraints. Yes, of course, India is not having much problem because mostly in India, 8-hour shift. Even in Oman, we don't have much problem. But in Western countries, the 12 hours long shift, 3 days continuous work, definitely it is going to bother the nurses. Workplace violence, of course, it's increasing day by day, unfortunately. Workplace hazards like physical hazards, biological hazards, chemical hazard, ergonomics hazards. So this ergonomics means like you are a nurse leader, and then you don't get given a proper chair. In front of the computer, you sit 12 hours, and then if you're not given a proper chair, then this becomes an ergonomics hazard. Lack of administrative support, it is not always there, but in some places it is still there. Insufficient resources. That's why we talk about lean management, right? Lean management, like 5 years as said, the standardized shine and so on. So this is mainly to preserve the resources, whatever we have. So we need to create magnetism to overcome the above concerns. So these challenges, how we are going to overcome? By creating magnetism. So I'm going to deal really little bit detail about what is magnetism and so on. So now I'm coming, I told you, as I told in India, because I'm talking to Indian nurses, I believe Jayasudha told there are many Indian nurses joining today. So dear nurse leaders, please, dear nurses, you should start being assertive from today. Okay, so now let us see what is stopping you to be assertive. First one is gender role. In gender role, mainly in India, we don't see much of male nurses. Of course, now they just started coming slowly. But the women are expected to be passive, dependent, subjective, sensitive, inconsistent, weak, emotionally unstable. So in the male dominating society, it's very easy for them to dominate us as women dominating profession. Next one is socialization process. Nature of nursing is traditional behavior, no authority given, no power is given. We are expected to just follow the physician order. Of course, it's changing, but I'm telling you, this is the real scenario. Male-female role competition. See, in nursing, again, I'm telling you, sometimes female-female role competition is there. I am great, you are not, you are superior, you are 1 minute junior. You are one, I have just seen in government this, she's 1 minute senior. What is that 1 minute? She just signed the contract just before me 1 minute. So she's senior, something like that. Why? We should not be going behind all this. Now the world is changing. Now this junior, senior, junior concept is really, really changing. Next one is we are queen bees. Queen bees, you know, the role of what is the activity of queen bee? It's just sit and lay eggs, and then it will be in a nest, and then the other bees goes and brings the honey. But here in the queen bee, actually it's a hard worker. You need to work very hard, and then the queen bees are now not recognized at all. So this is again a problem in a male dominating society. Third one is, the fifth one is the thrashing. This is another character assassination for the nurses, and then especially women against one another, and it is self-destructing. It might lead to rage, which is really, really to be avoided. Lack of confidence. And then even in Indian culture, if you see the girls or ladies are very, very submissive, we cannot raise our voice. And then so that is another submissive nature. That is also one of the reasons why we are not assertive. We are not assertive even in our family. It is not like Western countries we see they are very assertive. And then even in Oman, I can see the girls are very assertive, very smart. You know, that kind of thing we are developing. I think, again, slowly, the world is changing. As I say, baby boomers. Now we are all X generation. Now the generation is called as baby boomers. Yeah. The nuclear messages, they don't have any proper messages to just to give. Maybe they just talk stories, you know, like start once upon a time what happened like that. So you're not you're assertive leader. You just make your sentence short and sweet. No control in delivering information. These are all the measures that why we are not assertive in nursing areas. How to overcome? Be organized and motivated, willing to learn to be open-minded, remain calm and be professional, learn to say no. This is a very, very bad character that all of us have. When our boss is giving us too much of work, we never have a habit of telling no. We have to explain our situation. No, because of this reasons, I'm overwhelmed. Please give me this particular job maybe a little later. I'm willing to do, etc. 3 C's to be assertive communication is control, confidence, and clear message. Respect the opinion of others, get to the point, and keep it very simple. Be firm and but polite, and then choose the right moment to assert yourself. Say what you feel, but don't feel guilty. Okay, and just would like to show the nurse leaders the change that you need. Most of us, the problem with us is we don't want to change. We have a fixed mind and we don't want to change. Why we have to change, this video will explain to you. And I would like everyone to just see the captions which is coming down. It is not only the video with the caption. The captions are more important. Just a minute. So let's take a look at this. So I think, hope you watched the video, liked it also. Like an eagle, after 40 years, is just doing three things, and then just to get back to like a rebirth. In the same way, we have to remove the fixed minds, negative feelings, whatever we had, and then keep taking rebirth every now and then to survive in the nursing environment. So now I was just telling about what is happening with the leaders, what are the qualities that she or he should have, and then the leaders, what is wrong with the leader, how to be assertive. Now we are creating the magnetism among the nursing leaders. So what is magnetic model? There is something called as magnet hospitals. I will come to that a little later. So you have to understand there is something called as magnet model, that hospital follows something, some criterias, and then branded as a magnet hospital in US especially. And that hospital are focusing on these things. And then you can ask that we don't have that model, such model in our countries, wherever country you belongs to. Then you have to just take all these concepts, and we are already applying it. We don't come under some brand and tell that my hospital is magnetic hospital, but we are doing most of the things there. So, but we have to just do whatever is not there also from my presentation. So the creating magnetism in nursing leader, what are the benefits? First one is decreases the mortality rate. That is the number one principle of nursing. We have to reduce the morbidity and mortality, and decrease in hospital injuries, increase safety, decrease in negligence of nursing care, increased patient and staff satisfaction. That is more important. Patient satisfaction and staff, that is one, this is there, that one other one will not be there. Both we must have. Delivering quality of care leads to excellent patient outcome, high standards and excellence of nursing care, greater autonomy at the bedside, high quality instructional system to family and community partnership, higher nurse-physician collaboration and safe working environment. The magnet hospital will assure all of this. So that is why those nurses are called as magnet nurses. And so those characteristics we also should create among our nurses. That is called as creating magnetism. In American Nurses Credentialing Center, ANCC, designed to provide a framework for nursing practice and research in future, as well as serving as a roadmap for organizations seeking to achieve the magnet recognition. Let us see a little bit of history about what is this magnet hospital all about. 1970s and 80s identified characteristics to retain nurses during shortage. So this shortage is not now, it was there in ages. 1970s and even before, much before, it was more, shortage was more. So the magnet hospitals are identified in 1983, about 14 characteristics. In December 1990, the American Nurses Association approved the creation of magnet hospital recognition program. So let's see in detail what is it. The aim of the magnet status of the hospital is to recognize organizations that provide excellence in nursing, growth and development of nursing staff, and an environment that supports a professional nursing practice. Finally, this fosters the positive work environment and sense of pride among all nurses. This slide is most important slide, completely a comprehensive information about the magnet hospital as such. Building a culture of magnet. Magnet status is not a prize or an award. Rather, it is a credential of organizational of nursing excellence. Approximately 8% of all registered hospitals in the US have achieved magnet recognition as per 2015 statistics. Magnet hospitals enjoy higher percentage of satisfied nurses, lower RN turnover, vacancy rates, improved clinical outcome, and then improved patient satisfaction. This is a core principle or concept of magnet hospital. First one is satisfaction of the nurses, lower nurses turnover and vacancy rates, and improved clinical outcome and patient satisfaction, of course, staff satisfaction. Basic principles of magnetism is how nurses can apply across practices sites to enhance the culture, patient care outcome, and the nurses' satisfaction. There are 14 characteristics identified in order to retain the nurses and reduce shortage. I'm going to explain about the magnetic model a little bit detailed. Components of magnetic model must be understood. Magnetic strategies to improve the outcome of all practice sites that one can implement at their workplace. So these are the 14 characteristics of magnetism. This force 1, force 2, which means the task force. Task Force 1, Task Force 2, all this. I'm going to just explain a little bit about what is all this. In Task Force 1, quality of nursing leadership is emphasized. Here, the knowledge, risk factors, and a cultured, philosophy. Okay, philosophy of the particular culture based on whichever country, and then the philosophy for advocacy and support. In Force 2, organizational structure has been emphasized. Here, the flat, decentralized structure in which unit-based decisions prevail, and then nurses leaders to execute level in an organization report to the higher officials. Management style, participative management style at all level, like the eclectic tendency we say, laissez-faire, autocratic, dictatorial, whichever combination of leadership according to the situation is much better. Next, the fourth force is personal policies and programs. Competitive salaries, benefits, promotional opportunities, flexible staffing with minimal rotation of staffing, staff involvement in policy development. That is really, really lacking. Any policy development, any higher thinking, higher level meeting, the nurses are really like pushed out, So we have to be really involved in policy making. Force 5 is professional model of care. Here, the registered nurses who are responsible for accountable and responsible for their patient care in coordination with the other aspect as well. Then Force 7 is quality improvement. Here in quality improvement, the staff has to, every time they have to do the right thing and they have to improve it every time. That is also, we know about quality assurance concept. Now, Force 8, consultation and resources. Here, available knowledge, you have to really ask from the expert about the other supportive peers, what is it, how to go about, and then how to improve, etc. Next one is great autonomy at bedside nursing is really, really important. The nurse should exercise independent judgment consistent with the professional standards. Then the Force 10 is community and the hospitals. Here, long-term outreach programs that should be resulting in a hospital with a positive, strong, and productive corporate settings. And the nurse as a teacher, the nurse has to be teaching, has to be incorporated in their complete day-to-day care. Image of nursing, of course, we have talked about about the status image of nursing. Status image is really low in some country, high in some countries, even in India, high in some state like Delhi and Pondicherry. The nurses' status image is very high, and the other states may not be much. This is mainly because we have to boost ourselves. We need to be assertive in order to people to view ourselves, mainly because of our nursing service and the essential quality. The people will improve our status image, not because of anything. So we have to really improve that. Then 14 force is like interdisciplinary relationship. Of course, we are working with multicultural, multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary people. We have to really, in cooperation with them only, we can really extend. This is a teamwork. It is not an individual work, all of us. 14th force is a professional development. Of course, we have to improve the career development, ongoing evaluation, what is it called as on-the-job training, improve the going in for high study staff development. All that will come under this force. So there are 14 characteristics of magnetism. Don't you think all of us will do this? Maybe one or two we don't do. So that means only under this banner we don't do, but we are already doing magnetism. We are already creating actually. But only thing is we don't have the magnet hospital and these kind of brands we don't have. What is that magnetic model? Just explain a little bit in detail. And then if you explain a model, normally this is a time Jaisu has kept, and this is a sleeping time, maybe after lunch. I'm sorry, just I will just keep yourself brisk. I will try to keep this presentation going a little brisk. Global issues in nursing healthcare, you can see there are a lot of arrows going interconnected. So first, there are 5 components in this. First one is transformational leadership, then which interconnects with structural empowerment, leads to exemplary professional practice, and with also in terms to new knowledge and innovation improvement. All these 4 components would end with empirical outcome. We will just go one by one. A small detail is required. First component of the magnetic model is transformational leader. Here, actually, if you see the traditional leaders, they were totally, as I told you, different. But today's leaders are totally different, and even in concept. Today's healthcare environment is experiencing unprecedented intense reformation. So the traditional leaders mainly focusing on stabilization and growth, whereas the today's leaders are focusing on transforming organizational values, beliefs, and behaviors. And then we have to be very strong. The leaders must lead the people to meet the demands of the future and the needs. The leader also should emphasize on vision and strong expertise and then clinical knowledge. She or he should enlighten the organization why the change is essential. So that's what the video said, why the change is essential to compare with the present generation and then to be in par with the present global issues. This model component is no longer just to solve the problems, but fix the broken system and to empower the staff. The second component, just in short, the transformation leader encouraging the heart, inspiring a shared vision, enabling the others to act and challenging the process. And these are some of the modeling the way. This is in short with the transformation leader. Second component is a structural empowerment. The structure and the process which is providing innovative environment, the mission and vision and the values to achieve the outcomes, strengthening practices to improve the patient outcomes through organization, strategic plans, structure, system, policies, and programs. Staff need to be developed and directed and empowered to accomplish the goal. These are all very, very important in the structural empowerment. 4 E's of structural empowerment: empower, enhance, engage, and enable. The third component of the magnetic model is exemplary professional practice. The true essence of magnetic organization stems from exemplary professional practice within nursing. This entails a comprehensive understanding of the role of nursing dealing with the patient, families, and community. So they are the stakeholders. So we have to satisfy the stakeholders. Because most of the hospitals are private, even private or government, whatever, the patient satisfaction and the community satisfaction is more important. To understand the interdisciplinary team and application of the new knowledge and evidence is also part of this component. You can see those pictures of whatever I have just put it down. This is just really in terms of this component, supporting this component. The fourth component is new knowledge, innovation, and improvement. Here we need to have a strong leadership, empowering professionals, exemplary practices. So first one, strong leadership, empowering professionals, exemplary practice. These all three are essential to build the blocks. Ethical and professional responsibility of the patient care and the new knowledge and innovations and improvement is required by the leader, and redefine the current system every now and then is also important. Of course, the evidence-based care is a very essential component. The fifth one is empirical quality results. This is a fifth component of the magnetic model. If you remember, which was there in the center, in the middle of the model. In future, having a strong structure and then process are the first steps. In clinical outcomes related to nursing, workforce organization, consumer outcomes, quantitative benchmarks should be established. So very, very important is these outcomes will represent the report card of the magnet organization and simple way of demonstrating the excellence. So now I will just, this is a comprehensive again model. You can see on the first column, model elements. Of course, the rational is in the middle. Then we will go to the forces of magnetism. So I was explaining about the forces, 14 forces, and then I explained about 5 component of model. You can see all put in one table. So transformation leadership is applicable for force 1 and force 3. Structured empowerment is application for it is applicable for it is taken from force 2, 3, 4, 10, and 14 and 12. So and so. Exemplary professional relationship also has got multiple forces, and then new knowledge and innovation is from force 7, and empirical qualities from force 6. So this is how the ANCC 5 model components and 14 forces of magnetism is put into. So magnet hospital attraction, the nurses who are really in creating a nursing practice environment and then organization that serves as a magnet for professional nurses. They are able to attract and retain a staff of well-qualified nurses, therefore consistently able to provide a good quality care. Hence, the research goal is to explore the factors associated with success in attracting and remaining as a professional nurses. So raise in expectation. So as I told you, we have to change, and there are a lot of expectation from the public, interprofessional focus, and workplace advocacy, shared governance, research, innovation technologies, staff engagement, all this has to be come out from the nurses. That is what expected out of it to be a change agent. Living magnetic culture, everyone can engage in principles of magnet nurses, leading to co-leading and then interpersonal professional team and deliver the exceptional outcome to our patients and the families. So EBP care is all of us know it's focusing on integrating, innovating, sustaining, leading, shaping, excelling, and measuring and documenting. So we have to practice evidence-based practice. Now, to create a magnetism, the nurse leader must be either transformational leader or transactional leader. Let us see what is it. Transformational leader seeks to influence, mission-oriented, plays with boundaries, focus on becoming, provide meaning, promote instability, does right thing, create what is not. Transactional leaders seeks control, goal-oriented, know their boundaries, focus on doing, provide form and structure, preserve stability, does things in right way. The other one, do the right things. Here, does things in a right way, manage all situations. So you choose today, nurses, dear nurses, nursing teachers, whoever, you choose what you want to become, either transformational leader or a transactional leader, or both. So to conclude, create magnetism concept helps the nursing leader to inspire the desired responses and getting work done through others, to focus on purpose of doing the right thing, to be future-oriented, challenged by change, and be able to plan strategies and facilitate human potential. Now we are in the COVID era. After the COVID, like we are just coming out of the COVID. When you come out of the COVID, it's called as new normal life. So we are leading a new normal life in this COVID. What is that we have done? A lot of leaders have changed. So many things, strategies they have changed. But you have to remember the past. During 50 years back, 60 years back, malaria, millions of people were dying with malaria, tuberculosis, plague, cholera, smallpox, Ebola, chickenpox, so many communicable diseases past us. We dare to lead. We can lead. Compared to those statistics, COVID is nothing. So dear nurses, you can do it and you are doing it. To be a good shock observer and motivate nurses to act and then manage the conflict, to encourage using leadership style to fit into a different situation. I am sure that we are all going to really lead and change further. So with these two beautiful quotes, I would like to conclude. A quality of the leader cannot be judged by the answers he gives, but the questions he asks, by Simon Sinek. A leader takes the people where they want to go. A great leader takes the people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. This is said by Rosalind Carter. So with these two take-home messages, I would like to conclude and thank Jaisudha and all other organizers. These are all the references. And let us, if you have any queries, you're welcome. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation.
Ma'am, there is one clarification from the participant side, ma'am.
Yes.
Does hospitals need to be accredited to be called as magnet hospitals?
Okay, let me explain. In America, like you have to apply for a magnetic status. Actually, it's every 4 years this has been renewed. And the magnetic status hospital, the nurses are highly paid. And there is a procedure and protocol, like how we are doing other accreditation, same way. Yes, we have to get there is a big process. But we can still get it. That's what I told you. No need to be branded like that, even if you don't get magnet status. But all of these principles you apply to create magnetism among your nurses. That is more important. What is more important is not the accreditation. That accreditation is mainly for the business purposes, just to attract people, maybe just to get more business. That is not our criteria. Our criteria is to have a patient satisfaction. So this magnet hospitals, whatever they does, we can do it. But if the hospital really wants, you can get a magnet status. And then if you want details, I can send it. But this is what, every 4 years, it has to be renewed. And you have to apply to ACNN, and then you have a lot of protocols for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have understood how to repress those factors which stops nurses being assertive. And you have inspired us to absorb changes like an eagle. That was very interesting and inspiring. You have instilled more awareness to us on this magnetism which is necessary for nurses. and about magnet hospitals. Thank you, ma'am, for your clear and a better view about nurse leaders today. Thank you very much, ma'am, for spending your valuable time and adding more views on the topic.
Indeed, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. We have another eminent leader who plans and implements new ventures in nursing today. Dr. T.R. Udayakumar, Chief Executive Officer, Impetus Healthcare Skills. Sir will share his ideas on nurse entrepreneurs, build up diversity in profession. Yes, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mira. I think Dr. Lakshmi has to stop sharing her screen.
What do you want, sir?
No, you have to stop sharing your screen so that I can share.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Is it fine, Mr. Bhaskar?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, just a second. But the screen is visible, Mira?
No, sir. Screen is okay, but we are not able to see your PowerPoint.
Okay.
Shall we share it, sir?
Yeah, I think that will be better, I think that. Yeah, Mira, you're able to share it?
Just a minute, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, you can make this an PowerPoint show slide presentation. Yeah, thank you. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Respected principal, dear faculties and colleagues, good evening. So I'll be briefly discussing about nurse entrepreneurs, a build a diversity in profession, which will be for about 15-20 minutes. There we can have a discussion. Next slide, please. How many of you would like to be an entrepreneur? Because in nursing, like we have been after a graduation or diploma or MSc or PhD, we would like to be an employee in an organization and work for an entrepreneur or a businessman. And most of the nurses we don't take an opportunity or we don't prefer to be an entrepreneur. Most of the nurses or existing leaders prefer to be an intrapreneur. When we say intrapreneur, is a person who is very creative, innovative, but they are not willing to take a risk. But whereas they work for an organization and try to prove themselves and bring a good outcome from the organization. So most of us don't like to be an entrepreneur. We like to be an intrapreneur who work for an organization. If you look at Tirukkural, no, before I think I know almost all of you know Tamil. Before 2000 years, Valluvar has told about even entrepreneurship in his Tirukkural. So there are three, like Porutpal, Arthapal, Kamathapal. In Porutpal, he has been telling about, I think there is no issue in using the bilingual, right? Sometimes. So he has been spoken about the entrepreneurship in Tirukkural. So if you take Tirukkural number 675, Porul Karvi Kalam Vinay Inanodu, Aindam Irul Tira Inichail. So what he was mentioning, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you should keep in mind 5 things. One, about the money that is required for the investment. 2, the means, the way you are going to spend the money. The time when you are supposed to invest, when you want to have a startup, and how we are going, then execution, how we are going to implement or execute the plan and idea, and where you are going to execute. So Tirukkural has told about how the Valluvar has told about the Porul Karvi Kalam, Vinay Iranoda, and the Irul Tira NHL. So you want to become an entrepreneur, you should keep 5 things in mind. One is about the money, the means, the time, execution, and place, and what you want to do exactly. That's what an idea of an entrepreneur. Next slide, please. Most of the time, what we always think business business is the word synonymously used for entrepreneur. The business is totally something different from the entrepreneurship. A businessman is something different, and an entrepreneur is something different. What are the differences? Let us see there are some key differences between a business and an entrepreneurship. Businessman. Who is a businessman? A person who is going to invest money into some area where there is an already existing idea. There is an idea, there is a business people already into the market, and they try to invest money and try to start a business in a new place. They are called as business people. So they work on the areas where there is an existing idea. What about entrepreneurs? The entrepreneurs are the innovators. They work on the new idea, new concept. They try to develop a new idea, new concept. They are called startups. Or we have some incubation centers in the IIT Madras. These incubation centers will try to bring about a lot of new business ideas, and they try to create a market for themselves. So the basic fundamental difference between a businessman and the entrepreneur is a businessman will work along with the existing idea or a concept, whereas an entrepreneur will have a new idea, new concept, where he will create a market. Next, what is the market position for the businessman? In case of market position, a businessman will be a player in the market. There will be there may be 10 shops in the market. This can be 11th shop or maybe whatever the 12th shop. So in a market status, a businessman will be just a player. He will go and play along with the other businessmen in the market. Whereas the entrepreneurs will be market leaders because the idea or the concept, whatever they have is new. So they lead the market. There's no competitor for them. So they create a market. So the market, they will be the market leaders, whereas the businessmen will be market players. What do the businessmen do? They create a place in the existing market. There is a shopping complex. There's a place where they do business. Just they'll create a place for themselves and they'll be 10+1 businessmen. Whereas in case of entrepreneur, they create a new market for themselves. There's a lot of classical examples, what we can talk about, Ola, Uber, Swiggy. All these are the innovations. All these are the entrepreneurship. Because Swiggy, you can take there are a number of examples, which are the startup companies, where they create a market. When Swiggy was opened, we never thought Swiggy will take off, but it's one of the biggest industry today. So they create a market for themselves by means of having the new ideas, and they become a market leader. Coming to businessmen, what do businessmen do? When I'm a businessman, I do a lot of calculatives. We do SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is basic fundamental steps when you invest money into a business. So we do SWOT analysis, scope, opportunities, threats. So we do SWOT analysis and calculate the risk and we invest money. So the amount of risk that we have in the business is very low. So it is a calculated investment to the business, and the amount of risk what the person takes as a business is very low. Whereas in case of the entrepreneurs, their intuition says this is a new idea because they're innovators. They have the incubation centers. So they're innovators. Their intuition says that the idea of this concept will take off and the risk of is very, very high. They may lose the money or they may make huge money. We can give a number of things. So the purely the calculated risk, whereas in case of business, whereas in case of entrepreneurship, it is completely purely based upon their intuitiveness, what they feel. And whereas the risk is very high in case of entrepreneurship. What is about business people? Business people work only towards the profit. I invest about 10 rupees and what is my EBITDA or what is my PAT? Profit after taxation. So what is my net profit? So a businessman is always a person who calculates his risk, calculates profit, and what is his PAT. Whereas when you come to the entrepreneurs, they talk about the employees, consumer, and the public. What he can contribute to the society, what he can contribute to the public or the people is what about the outcome of entrepreneur. So entrepreneur works for the people and the public, whereas the business is purely based upon the profit. So that's from today, let us understand very clearly, business is not equal to entrepreneurship. A business is a profit-making entity where we invest some money and make some money out of it. Whereas in case of entrepreneurship, we try to create new ideas, innovate, and we go to the market, we become the leader and do something for the society or the profession. That's what we call as entrepreneurship. Yeah, next slide. Next, you can just click on next. So, no, previous one, please. What is it the entrepreneurship talks about? We can relate this to a Tirukkural called Seiga Porulai Sirunir Sirukkarukkum Egdanir Kuriyadil. What is this exactly it talks about? We need to accumulate the wealth that will destroy the arrogance of the enemy. So there is no sharper weapon than the innovation. That's what Tiruvallur says before 2000 years. Seiga Porulai Sirunir Sirukkarukkum Egdanir Kuriyadil. That means your business, the entrepreneurship will always kill the arrogance of the enemy or the market leader, the market players who are already existing. And there is no sharper weapon than the entrepreneurship. That's what Tiruvallur talks about the entrepreneurship before 2000 years. Next slide, please. Okay. Why we should have nursing entrepreneurship? See, we've been talking about professional autonomy, whether nursing is an independent profession or we are dependent or we are subordinate. We have been discussing for decades about whether we have professional autonomy. The answer to us straight away at present legally that we are not independent. We don't have professional autonomy. We are bound to work within the license scope of practice and defined in the scope of the act. So a nurse or nursing personnel can work within the scope of practice. So there are certain regulations which controls and monitors the role of the nurse at any level. So we do not have the professional autonomy. So when you take up the nursing entrepreneurship, that may pave the way for establishing professional autonomy. We can be more independent. Only when you come and do and practice separately, then we know how to, what is the autonomy that we require, what are the act that is to be enacted, or what are the regulations to be brought in to become more professional, gain more professional autonomy. Next, advanced nursing professionalism. See, we have been talking about, we have been just, in India, we have different levels of education. What is the purpose of all these levels of education? Whether the different levels of education is being developed for the purpose of any role, is then in the service cadre or the scope of practice is defined for different levels of education. Let us take diploma nursing, BS nursing, MSc or PhD, what we do. End of the day in India, we talk about whatever the qualification you possess, you are just a nurse. We are not able to advance the profession of nursing to the next level because we are not linked to the education qualification with the scope of practice and the service cadre. There's no interlinkage between the qualification, the scope of practice, the scope of practice and service cadre. So we are not able to advance in nursing to the next level of professionalism. 3, engage in health system transformation. We are the forefronters, or around 55 to 60% of the healthcare workforce are nurses. But we work for the transformation of the health system, but we have not been recognized. We have not been engaged in the policy making or in the consultation process of the policy making. So these are the 3 areas where why we are supposed to have the nursing entrepreneurship. When you have entrepreneurship interest, we can establish a professional autonomy, advanced nursing professional next level, engage in the health system transformation by means of consultative process or maybe through bureaucratic process. So this is what the reason why we should have nursing entrepreneurship. Next, please. What are the characteristics of an entrepreneurship? 1, the person should have a vision towards what is the requirement of the industry or the profession or the society or the public for the next 20 years or 10 years or 30 years, whatever. There should be a clear-cut vision about what you have. Look, so the person should be a visionary. Second, innovation. There should be a lot of ideas where that can bring a change in the professional or individual or to the society. So there should be innovative ideas which can be more of entrepreneurship ideas, which has to be a very essential characteristics of an entrepreneurship. The third is ability to take risk. When you look at the businessmen, they are taking a calculated risk. If I invest some amount, what will be the loss, what will be the profit? They have some risk factors. So the person who is going to be an entrepreneur should have the ability to take risk. Even if I make money or not, but my ideas, my concepts are very good. Let me implement and try out this. So it is about the third characteristic is about ability to take risk. 3, 4, open-minded. So you need to not be very rigid. Most of us, we are rigid. In nursing, we have been built up or we have been trained in a manner that we are supposed to be very rigid and we are not open-minded. Only when you're open-minded, you will be trying to adapt to the changes in the society or in the profession or in the healthcare industry or the system. So we need to be very open-minded to accept the changes and need to be more dynamic instead of being very static. So we need to be very open to accept the ideas or the from other people also. So that is one of the characteristics of an entrepreneurship. Confident and well-informed. You need to be, when you have a new idea or a concept that you want to test it or you want to trial it, you need to be confident about your ideas and the concept, and you have to be well-informed about all the angles of the ideas. So without being confident about the areas or the ideas, the concept of what you have, you will not succeed. And lastly, it is very important the leadership style that you possess. And the last speaker was speaking about the transformation and transaction. These are the 2 important types of leadership what we have. But today, what we experience is totally different kind of leadership. We need to have some transformation leadership ideas which can take us to the next level of profession. So these are the 6 characteristics which are very essential to be an entrepreneur. 1, you need to be a visionary about the profession public. You need to have innovative ideas which can support the public or help in the better health care on the people, and should be willing to take risk in whatever, in terms of monetary, in terms of time and people. I need to be very open to accept the criticism or the greetings from other people. I need to be confident about, well informed about your ideas, what you have, and need to be a good leader so that you can be a good entrepreneur. Just next. There's a Tirukkural, yeah. One more thing that's linked to this characteristics of entrepreneur. What is it talks about Tiruvallur before 2000 years? Kalam karadi irpar, kalangadu nyalam karuduvavar. It means that the person should wait for the right time and should take right action to be successful, to conquer the world. So you have to see this word, you have to wait for the time to conquer the world. That's what about the entrepreneurship. You have to wait for the right time, invest your money or maybe ideas where you can test it so that you succeed, so that you can conquer the world. So kalam karudi irpar kalangadu. That means definitely one day will conquer the world. Nyalam karuduvavar. The person who can wait for the time and the right place. Yeah, thank you. Next. Scope of entrepreneurship. One. What are the areas where we can have entrepreneurial practices? One, healthcare policy consultation. So we can be in a healthcare policy consultation. What is the healthcare policy consultation? I've been with part of the many healthcare policy. So I've been part of the National Mental Health Policy, National Health Policy 2015 and 17. We have been part of various policies. So you can be a part of the healthcare policy consultation. Recently, we also National Nursing and Midwifery Commission Bill, which has come for the public opinion. So we can engage in the healthcare policy consultation process, or you can consult an organization to bring a policies. Today, we talk about NABH. We talk about JCA. These are the accreditation process where the nursing person can be in consultation for these policies, and you can be an implementer. So the scope can be about being a consultant for the healthcare policies. It can be the hospital level, your district level, the state level, and the national level. So you can be part of the healthcare consultation. You can bring about policy or policy changes. Nursing service, we have different variety of services. You can talk about the nursing service in terms of the hospitals, in terms of public health, in terms of mental health, in terms of home care. So we have different angle of services, or we can talk palliative care. So there are different avenues of nursing services where the nurses can take up the entrepreneurial role and practice on the nursing services, which will be very wide role. Next scope could be development, assessment, and sale of healthcare products. There are many companies who are trying to sell their products. Who are the end users of this? Most of the consumables what is used in the hospitals are mostly used by nurses. There are companies who are looking for nurses where you can develop some new maybe equipments or devices or consumables. One. Second, you can be part of the research team. There are research team where a company, when they introduce a new product or a new medicine, they also engage nurses as a part of the evaluation of the drug or maybe the consumable and see the efficacy of the tool what they developed, and sale of the healthcare products and devices. So you can also be part of the selling the healthcare products and devices. So your nurses, one of the areas can be you can develop and assess and sell the new healthcare products and devices, which can be one of the avenues, not only teaching or service sector. Legal services, advocating, like we don't have legal advisors. We may be playing a role of advocacy for the patients when they come to the hospital. But we also can, once you take up a law course and you can be legal, you can also have legal service to the patient. We know a lot of legal liabilities are taking place where they go to consumer forum, where you can play and act as a role of advocate for the consumers and give them a better solution. So these are the scope of practices where the nurses can take up the entrepreneurial role. One, healthcare policy consultation, a variety of services and nursing services, developing or assessing and selling the healthcare products and devices, and rendering the legal service to the needy people. Yeah, next one. Okay, next one. So there's Tirukkural again linked with this scope. Okay, scope of entrepreneurial products. Nyalam karudinam kaikodum kalam karudi idathar sayin. That means you should wait for accomplishing certain things or the parole. When you say the monetary benefits, the right time and the right place, you have to wait for the time so that you can achieve the things. So that's what the Tirukkural means relate to the scope of entrepreneurial practice. Next slide, please. What are the issues? Why nurses don't come up and they don't take up entrepreneurship? Why we always mostly want to be on the safer side. You want to be either teacher in a college or school of nursing, go for a service and the hospitals, or very few I look at in the research institute or maybe in the public health areas. So what are the reasons why nurses are not taking up the entrepreneur role? One, the competence that is required for a professional, or we see we all have a qualification, a degree of nursing at different levels. We are called as qualified professionals. Are we a competent professional? Whether we have the knowledge, skill, and attitude exactly to deliver, whether we have the competence required to be a professional, definitely there's a question mark. We are not up to the mark. So we are qualified, but we are not competent. Second, entrepreneurial. What is entrepreneurial? I was telling about the people with a new concept idea. Why we have been trained in the manner that we are not able to think beyond because we have been controlled by the environment. During the course of education of 4 years, we have been living in the completely controlled environment where you cannot think on your own. You need to follow your teacher's instruction. So we try to block the mind's ideas or the concept innovations, what is coming out of the students. So there is no entrepreneurial ideas among the nursing students. That may be the reason why. So the one is lack of competency. Second, in terms of profession, in terms of entrepreneurial. Therapeutic. Target population. See, we have like as per the existing, most of us are having the license of RN and RM. As per the scope of practice, we can have midwifery clinics, but we don't do because the therapeutic, we are not able to identify who are our target population. So there is no clear demarcation idea. The competence is required to identify who is the population. When you want to do your business, who is the person? What is the innovative idea that we can bring in for a solution for them? So we don't know. We have a problem in identifying the target population. Better quality and quantity of health care. Do we have the competencies to deliver the better quality and the quantity, the amount and the kind of care that we want to deliver to the different kind of category of people? So we still have issue in that exactly because we have a license to practice, but we do not have the competence to exactly perform. So there is no rating body or there is no accreditation process or there is no monitoring agency to tell how far you are performing in this. So these are the issues in therapeutic point of view. Social and professional. Must not neglect interlinkages with the other parts of the health system. What we do, most of the time, nurses work in isolation. We do not interact with other professionals or we are not able to interact with the public. That is one of the reasons why the image of nurses is not up to the mark in the society because we neglect the interlinkage between the society and the nursing. So we are not able to convey what we think, what we experience in the profession to the public. So we are not able to gain the confidence of the people so that there is an issue with the social profession. So nurses are having the fear of starting an entrepreneurial models. Legal. Though I am as per the provision of the Act today, I am RN or RM. You have these. You can practice as a midwife. But why we are not able to practice exactly? The legal problem is that the scope of practice is not clearly defined to what you are supposed to do. There is a legal liability for each one of us when you perform a task. So the scope of practice is not clearly or well defined and your legal liability is not demarcated. So whenever somebody does a mistake, you are being blamed for them. What is the right to practice? Whether we have what is the right to practice? Still, we need to have, even if we want to give injection, we need to have the prescription from the qualified medical practitioner. So, what is the right to practice? When you take the public health, there are some standing orders. When you look at this existing system, the nurses or ANMs working in the public health system is more powerful than nurse working in the clinical setup because there are certain standing orders given to the nurses working in the public health where they can prescribe or give injection. Whereas in case of the hospital, without a prescription, nothing we can do. So the right to practice and the regulation is very challenging. Hope the new Nursing and Midwifery Commission will address these issues. The biggest issue is insurance. When you start a business or when you go for healthcare service, the hospitals are covered on the insurance categories. We know India has the largest, maybe insurance, Ayushman Bharat. So the government is trying to bring all the health care services under the Ayushman Bharat through insurance scheme where the prices will be regulated. But what happens when we open a clinic or when we do a service, whether these services can be linked to the insurance of the government or the private? There is a big challenge. So these are the 4 areas of challenge where or why the nurses are not willing to take up the entrepreneurial models. One, the competencies, both in terms of professional entrepreneurial, therapeutic, and social professional relationship, and the legal liabilities, or the reasons or the issues where it prevents the nurses going into an entrepreneurial model. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. To conclude, a business person is a person who is always looking at the profit. Next, please. Yeah, you can just click on. To conclude, a business person is a person who will invest money and look at the profit and is purely on the outcome. Is about the profit after taxation. Whereas the entrepreneur is a person who is trying to create or innovate a lot of ideas and you will try to work for the welfare of the people or public or the profession. It's all about the entrepreneurs. We all need to be a good entrepreneur than a businessman. So this can be linked to the Tirukural. Next slide, please. I mean, you can just enter. Yeah. Either kariyadu, yender call, annilaye, seither kariyasel. That means the one who utilizes all the resources and opportunities at hand is an efficient entrepreneur and nothing is impossible to achieve for him. So this was the description. So nurses can take up entrepreneurial roles. There are a lot of scope of the present scenario. Maybe the new National Nursing Commission bill will give a lot of scope of practice, which can take to the next level. Thank you for the opportunity. If there are any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Uday. Any questions from the delegate side?
Question, ma'am. Like, how to connect evidence-based practice with entrepreneurship?
See, that's what we cannot connect entrepreneurship with evidence-based practice. We always talk about business with evidence. What is evidence? See, when there's an existing idea, you try to test that idea and you see whether we can make a profit. That's what business. Whereas in entrepreneurship, it is purely about the innovative ideas that you have. You try to test it. So you create evidence for the idea, the concept that you arise. So there is no evidence-based practice. Your ideas and concept can become an evidence for the other learners. So when they take up your own idea, that becomes a business, not an entrepreneurship. For example, Dabbawala in Mumbai. You can take Swiggy. Okay, home care business. All these are becoming business now. The first person who created this idea and a concept will become an innovator, and that's what entrepreneurship. We cannot link that directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Uday. And also there are a lot of platforms that are available for the nurses to start with the wellness center.
Yeah, exactly. So wellness centers are the policy of the government. Government is looking at starting about 5,000 wellness centers. It is a part of the NITI policy where government want to reach out to the people. So this may be the scope, but at present we do not have the exact legal protection when I start an wellness center. So maybe the new National Nursing Commission should provide some protection legally when you do some practice. What are the legal liabilities and the saving class for the nurses? So once it comes a huge business model where we can be nurse, diabetic educator, maybe a consultant. Today we have the lot of clinics where talking about the for delivery services. So from the day the woman become conceived, they keep on having a tracking for. So you have an assured business for about at least 6 months or at least for 1 year. They give them education on about the nutrition, the exercises, the activity. All those things are linked till the baby becomes 1 year of age. So you can have a business model. It's a very good business model.
Yeah.
Where only thing is that the challenge is nurses need to develop competency. We are qualified, but we are not competent. We have to equip ourselves to meet the demand of the society. In business, without having the competency, we will be out of the market.
As you said rightly, birthing centers are coming up now, natural childbirth centers. And it's been run by the psychologists or other business people, not by the nurses. So that's the platform again open for our nursing people. So a lot of chances to be the entrepreneurs by the nurses.
Yeah, we have to promote some startups by giving the seed funding to the TNA can take up, or some of the there are a lot of people who can fund for the startups, where we can have the model centers supported by some colleges, or even a college having community center can try to promote a birthing center. It can be a pilot model for the colleges because already we have a primary health center. Because the huge money, when you take the tier 2, tier 3 cities, the huge business for the doctors is MCH. See, that's what I was telling about the Tirukural. We want to conquer, that was that means our competitors are doctors. If you want to cut down the revenue of the doctors, it is the nurses should take up the role of MCH. When you can go in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, start up wellness centers or birthing centers or counseling centers for various activities, we can be a competitor and we can succeed. Thank you, madam. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
Sir, you have you have given us a lot of inputs into a conscious level about the process of entrepreneurship and other legal formalities. It has been a thought-provoking session, including your slides, and we all perceive that you have a lot of thirst for Tirukkural, and I hope budding nurses and student nurses have found a good opportunity to listen to this concept of entrepreneurship. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time and sharing your thoughts in this view.
Thank you for the opportunity, madam.
So again, on behalf of PhD College of Nursing, from my side, I thank all the eminent speakers, Mrs. Lomi, Dr. Lakshmi Ranganathan, and Dr. Uday for the valuable, informative session. And it's been appreciated by all the delegates that it was an excellent, very informative, enjoyed. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Gratitude opened the door to the power, the creativity, and the wisdom of the universe. Good afternoon to all. I am Mrs. Santana Lakshmi, Assistant Professor from PhD College of Nursing. On behalf of PhD College of Nursing, let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. I thank our Managing Trustee, Sri L. Gopalakrishnan, the Chief Patron PhD Institution, who gives us insight in every chance in upholding the standard of the institution. My heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Lomi Paulos, Service Lead, Crisis Resolution and Home Treatment, United Kingdom, for making an excellent and interesting presentation about the nurses cultivate compassion to overcome burnout. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, ma'am. I also wish to express my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Lakshmi Ranganathan, Faculty, Women College of Health Science, Ministry of Health, Muscat, for her motivated, inspired, and encouraged speech towards nurse leadership. We are all inspired by your highly lively word. Thank you, ma'am. I'm also very grateful to Dr. T.K. Uday Kumar, Chief Executive Officer, Impetus Healthcare Skills Private Limited, Chennai, for giving an excellent coverage on nurse entrepreneurship, build a diversity in profession. You are an exemplary person, and we also feel to sail a boat like you in this profession, sir. Thank you, sir. I thank all the resource persons who, despite their busy schedule, have found time to grace for this occasion. A leader action inspire others to dream and to learn more. I am delighted to thank our beloved principal, Dr. A. Jayasudha, for the unfailing support and encouragement throughout this program. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me acknowledge my gratitude to Professor Meera Saravanan and Professor Bhaskar for their support throughout this program. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. A special thanks to the teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. My heartfelt thanks to our delegate for their active participation. All your presence made us feel proud today in this webinar. I'm grateful for this opportunity. With this warm word and kind message, we move to an end of today's session. Once again, I thank you all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we are signing off. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.